So hey everyone, in this video we are going to understand the stack data structure. Alright, so stack is nothing but a linear data structure that follows the LIFO principle. Okay, so that stands for last in and first out. Okay, so stack itself makes proper sense that whatever we add, keep on adding on top, so it keeps on removing from the top as well. Okay, so what goes at the top will be the first to be removed. Okay, so as simple as that. So in my opinion, this is the most simplest type of data structure, as it is almost similar to using arrays. Okay, anyways, a stack can be implemented using arrays. Okay, so there is no any particular type of data structure, so array itself can be treated as a stack. Okay, so for example of a stack is like a stack of books. Okay, so if you would have kept books on top of each other, so what you just do is you take the first book and what will be the last book that is kept on top, so that will be the first to be removed. Okay, so that follows the LIFO principle, that is last in and first out. Okay, and also the browser history is one of the best example of a stack. So let's say you keep on browsing, so whatever the pages you keep on navigating will be keeping on adding to the stack, and once you keep going back, okay, so each and every page that you go back, the stack will keep getting popped off. Okay, so there will be two kind of stacks that will be implemented. One is for the back history and one is for the forward history. Okay, so that is one of the example, and there are various methods that we can use for a stack. The most popular ones are push, that is to add an element to the stack, then the pop, that is to remove an element from the stack, and then is to peek. Okay, so what is the topmost element within the stack, and also to check that if the stack is empty. Okay, and also the size of the stack. So let us now get started by creating a class called stack, and then create a constructor to store the items in the stack. Okay, so the data structure that we are going to use is of course the array itself. Okay, so let's get started by creating a class called stack, and this is going to first get started with the constructor. So okay, and over there let's call this dot, we can just call stack, or let's call this items, and set that equal to an empty array. Okay, so we can now go ahead and just create an instance of the stack. So I'm just going to call this stack equal to new stack. Okay, and then call this. So this should probably return this items array. Okay, and so we have created the instance of the stack. So now let us create those methods where we can perform operations on the stack, like the push, pop and all that. Okay, so this is the basic constructor that will be created once we create this stack. Okay, so an array will be initialized. So all we just need to do is create a method to add an item to the array. Okay, so that is push. Okay, so let me just turn off this copilot and create a method called push, and this is going to take in the particular element or the item. Okay, so let's say that element, and this is going to just take the items array and then call the push method on that, and then pass in the element. Okay, as simple as that. So once we have created the instance of the stack, we can just add an element, so by calling stack dot push, and then we can push the item of, let's say, apple. Okay, so once we save this, we can print out the stack itself. So console log stack. So once I run this file, I should be able to see within an array called with the name apple. Okay, so with the first index of that. So let us run this file. So if we run this file, we get an item added to the stack of the string called apple. Okay, so then we can now create a method to remove an element from the stack, that is pop. Okay, so let's create that method. We do not need to pass in anything because this will be the last element that gets popped out the stack. And let's first check if the stack is empty, then we return something like stack is empty, cannot pop. Okay, so let's check if the size of the items array is empty. Okay, so we can do that by this dot items dot length, and if that is okay, so we can just put a not operator. Okay, and then we can just say that we can just return from this function with a string saying that stack is empty. Alright, so if the stack is not empty, then we return this dot items dot pop. Okay, So the pop itself is a built-in array method which will remove the last element of the array, okay, and yeah, that's it. So this will return the last element, and that gets popped off the stack. So if we just try to pop the last element, that is the apple itself, so pop. So once if I just save this file and see the output, so we do not have any items within our array, okay. So also if I just try to add another item into the array, like let's say banana, and remove the last element, so the banana should get popped off, okay. So we should be having just the apple, okay. So now let us create a method to see the topmost element, that is to peek, okay, so the last element, but we do not want to remove that element, okay. So there's a lot of difference between removing an element and to see the last element. And let's create a method called peek, and this is going to not receive anything, so we just need to return the last element. So let's again put the same condition over here. If the stack is empty, then we just want to return saying stack is empty, and if the stack is not empty, then we want to return the last element, okay. So this dot items, and we just need to access the last element, okay. So we just do that by this dot items dot length and get the last element, okay. So since arrays are 0 based, so we just need to minus that by 1, okay. So once I save that and try to access the last element by saying stack dot peek, and once I save this, this is going to so actually I just need to console log this, right. So console log, okay. So if I save this, the last element, that is banana, okay. So yeah, that's it. So since I removed the pop element, so we still see the banana there within the last element of the array, okay. So then we can just create a few more methods, like to check if the stack is empty or no. So that's very simple. So let's create a method called is empty, and we just need to return the if the items length is equal to 0 or not equal to 0, okay. So this will be a true or false value. So return this dot items dot length if that is equal to 0, okay. So this will return a true or false value. So if that is equal to 0, then the stack is empty. If the items length is not equal to 0, then it is not empty, okay. So it cannot go less than 0. So that is done. So let us also test that out. So let's console log stack dot is empty, and if I save this, oh sorry, I just need to call this, and once I save this, so since we have 2 items in the stack, it says false. So if I just call the pop method 2 more times and now check if the stack is empty, now we get true, all right. So that's all working. And now let's also, like, we are checking if the items length is 0, right. So instead we can call this method which is defined within this class itself, okay. So instead of doing this, we can just say if this dot is empty, and then call that method. So this will return that stack is empty, okay, or we can just return false or something like that. So once I save that, you see that it still works, okay. So yeah, just one more test. So we have some item, yeah, now we get false. So now let us use the final method to check the size of the stack, okay. So we can just say that size, and this method is going to return the length of the items, okay, very simple. So return this dot items dot length, all right. So once I save that, and now I check the length of the array, so size, and save this, so we get 1, okay. So since I'm popping off 1 and we just have apple remaining, so we get the size of 1, okay. So yeah, that's it, I guess. This is a very simple stack implementation. I didn't even have to make this video, so you yourself would have understood how to implement this. So if you would like to try this without seeing, you can go ahead and definitely do that. So now let us see a problem, how we can implement how we can solve a problem using this stack, okay. So this is one of the most popular interview questions, that is, you will be asked to check for valid parentheses, okay. So you will be given a string, and they will tell you to check the if the parentheses are actually valid, okay, without any syntax errors. So this is the string, and you see that for every bracket you see that it closes in the right order, okay. So if there is any order mismatch, there is some syntax error, and we just need to return that as false, okay. So basically this is how all the code editors actually work, okay. So using this kind of checking if the parentheses are actually valid, and then throw an error if or just mark a red underline to that particular closing parenthesis if it is not valid, okay. So we are just going to implement this using the stack data structure. So what we now need to do is we just need to run a loop across each element of the string and check that if this particular character is a opening bracket or not, okay. So as if it is an opening bracket, then we keep on adding to the stack, okay. So let us consider this as a stack, and since this is an opening bracket, so we add that to the stack, and also this is an opening bracket, so we also add that to the stack, and also this common bracket which is also opening, we add that to the stack, okay. So now comes to the fourth iteration where the stack is where the bracket is closing, okay. So we just need to now not add that to the stack, but we just need to compare that, okay. So once we find the closing bracket, we pop one from the stack, okay. So the first one, so this gets popped off, and when we pop something out of a stack, this will not create a copy of that, but the stack itself will get, the element itself will get popped off, okay. So this will be returned into we can just return this to a new variable, and then we need to check with from the previous which was just popped off, okay. So this thing that we popped, and just compare that to this particular closing bracket. So if those two are equal, then we proceed ahead to the next iteration, okay. So again we go to the next iteration, that is the again a closing bracket, and then pop this one out of the stack, okay. So this gets popped off, okay, and we just need to remove this. So this is a opening flower bracket, and we just need to compare this to the last one. So if this is a valid parenthesis, then we move on to the next iteration, okay. So unless we find that there is not a match between those parentheses, then we return false. Otherwise we just keep on going across, and then until we reach the end of the string, okay. If we have no more elements within our stack, we just return true, okay. So let us now understand by writing a code how we can implement this, okay. So let us get started by solving this problem which uses the stack data structure, okay. So that is to check if the parentheses are valid, alright. So we receive the parentheses in the form of a string. So first we just need to do is create a stack, okay. So let's create a stack by initializing that to an empty array, alright. And first we need to check, we need to have some kind of mechanism to check if that particular opening parentheses is having the matching closing parentheses, okay. So for that we can create an object by setting the key to the opening parentheses and the value of that to the closing parentheses, okay. So let us create a variable called pairs and set that equal to an object where the key of that is going to be the opening parentheses, and the value of that is just going to be the closing of that, okay. So let's duplicate the same 3 more times, because these are the only 3 parentheses that we are checking for, okay. So let's change this to a curly braces and this to a square bracket. Alright, so we have created the pairs. All we just need to do is just check if the particular pair of this is the value of that, okay, and we just check just like that. And let's now run a loop to loop across all the elements within the string. So for let I equal 0, I is less than string dot length, and then increment I. Alright, so first we just need to check that if the opening parentheses or the first element, if that is an opening parentheses, so if the pairs, okay, this one, if we need to check that by passing the first element within the string of I, okay. So we check the particular, if that is a opening parentheses, then we want to push that to the stack, okay. So stack dot push, and then pass in the string at I, okay. So once the this keeps on going and unless we find a closing parentheses, okay. So let's put the else case where there is a closing parentheses, and let's create a last. So that is the last item within the stack, that we get that from stack.pop. Okay, so the stack.pop, as I told you, it will remove the element from the array and it will return it. Okay, so that will be stored within this last variable, and now we just need to check if the particular popped element, if that is matching the correct closing bracket. Okay, so let's put a if here and say string at IE if that is not equal to the pairs at the last. Okay, so basically what we are trying to check is, so if this is a closing bracket, we check if this one is equal to the opening one, that is the popped off element from this. Okay, so if that is true, then we return false. Okay, so or we can just put a triple equal to and just return true, but we just want to do it like this, so return false. So at the last we just need to check the size of the stack. Okay, so if there is nothing at the end of the stack, if there is nothing in the stack at the end of the iteration, then we return true. Okay, so let's put the check right here, return the stack dot length if that is equal to 0. Okay, so if it is equal to 0, then it will return true, else it will return false. Okay, so once that's done, we can just try to see our output. So you see, for the first test we get the result as true. Okay, for the second one also as true, but for the third one the parentheses are not same, so are not in the right order, so that's why we return false. Okay, so I hope this example of stack gave you a better understanding of understanding it and by solving problems using stack. Okay, so if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments, so feel free for that. So that's it, I guess, for this video. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.